Tyranids come in a variety of genera, and they all evolve at a breakneck pace, guided by the hive mind, adapting to dangers in direct response to their existence. Tyranid matter is continuously reabsorbed into biomass reclamation pools in order to produce new species and adjust existing ones to the hive mind's current needs. The hive tyrants are massive Tyranids that serve as the swarm's commanders and a synaptic conduit for the smaller monsters. They are highly telepathic and changeable, and their connection to the hive mind is stronger than that of most other Tyranid genera. They are more adept at close combat and ranged attack than the majority of Tyranid species. They are sometimes spawned with wings. Hive tyrants, according to Imperial Technomagi, are the repository of a hive fleet's collective consciousness, which means they entirely embody the hive mind. Yet their demise has no effect on the hive mind's presence. Another Tyranid synaptic entity, the broodlords, are the gene-stealer breed's pinnacle. One of the first gene-stealer to make planetfall on a victim world is the broodlord. They are deadly in combat and are particularly skilled in infiltrating enemy positions to get closer to the opponent. They are incredibly adaptive and bright. Broodlords also serve as the command center for gene-stealer cults, coordinating the cult's attacks. After a period of time, if the broodlord is slain, one of the pure-strain gene-stealers will transform into a new broodlord. Tyrant guards are a unique Tyranid species, born in small broods with the express aim of defending the hive tyrant. They are huge, tough, and difficult to hurt, and defeating their defense is practically impossible. Tyrant Guard are fully blind, and the synaptic beings they defend have complete control over them. Carnifex can also benefit from the Tyrant Guard's protection on occasion. Some Adeptus Mechanicus Magi believe the Tyrant Guard possess the DNA of the defeated Space Marine chapters, but the Imperium deems this blasphemous and dismisses the notion. The Tyranid warriors are the swarm's primary foot troops. They function as mental resonators and assist in leading the weaker Tyranid soldiers into battle. They are between the size of a hive tyrant and a gaunt. They are quick and powerful, comparable to the hive tyrant, having the capacity to fight from a distance or in close quarters. The lictors are enormous, lethal organisms that have been bred for stealth. In nature, a lictor is chainleonic, allowing it to blend in with its environment while hunting and killing its prey. Lictors are normally only seen when the Tyranids set up a lethal ambush on an unsuspecting army, unleashing a bioengineered death machine from inside their own ranks. They swarm ahead of the swarms, conducting commando attacks and acquiring information by digesting the brains of their victims. The lictors have unrivaled stealth and cunning, to the point where they can outsmart the legendary Catachan fighters in forest warfare. The scary invisible lictor is at work, and many Imperial Guard commanders have lost their troops in the shadows when they blink for a second. The Gaunts are a Tyranid swarm's most basic fighting unit. They are less physically powerful and smaller than most other Tyranid species, yet they are extremely adaptive and constantly attack in great numbers. They're a fully changeable species, with additional wings, adrenaline/venom sacs, and even weird biomechanical weaponized symbiotes like the infamous spike gun. The gargoyles are basically winged gaunts. They share several characteristics with most Tyranid species, including a smaller stature and physical prowess. Gargoyles, on the other hand, have retained most of the physical characteristics of gaunts. However, their lower legs have atrophied to little more than stumps. They, like their relative the gaunt, can be equipped with a variety of biomechanical and symbiotic weapons. The Rippers are little, snake-like organisms that eat biomatter in order for the hive ships to absorb new DNA and nutrition. In the closing stages of a Tyranid invasion, they are freed. Also known as Screamer Killers, are massive, monstrous, living battering rams equipped with a range of biomechanical, symbiotic weaponry. They are utilized for assaulting entrenched locations and as armor formations, such as during boarding actions, and are even powerful than the hive tyrants. Carnifexes are the Tyranids' version of tanks or space marine dreadnoughts, and the monstrous beasts can be mutated into a variety of subspecies. some geared for tank hunting and others built to spew acid and toxins that are perfect for anti-infantry combat. The Genestealers are violent humanoid beings who serve as a vanguard for the Imperium's Tyranid invasions. They are reportedly derived from human DNA. They infiltrate human communities and form Genestealer cults. They're also utilized as shock troops on the battlefield, where their keen claws and instinctive close combat skills allow them to shred heavily equipped opponents. The Ravenous seem to have ties to both the Rippers and the Tyranid warriors. These massive animals are built for quick assaults on weaker foes, and they can dig through the ground to launch surprise raids. Zoanthropes are psychic artillery with highly advanced brains that expand out of proportion to their body. They may play a variety of roles on the battlefield thanks to their mental abilities. Following the Hive Fleet Kraken Tyranid assault on the craftworld Eandon, some evidence suggests that the hive mind's assimilation of Eldari DNA benefited later iterations of Zoanthropes. Biovores are lethargic, sessile creatures whose sole purpose is to grow and launch spore mines at the opponent. The spore mines grow inside the Biovore's body before being flung across the battlefield by a muscle spasm. Orcish gene stock is said to have developed into Biovores. The Biotitans are massive organisms that evolved in response to the Titans and other super-heavy war machines of other cultures. They are, as of yet, the largest Tyranid creatures to have been encountered on land. They stand 9 to 30 meters tall and can take out a full squad of space marines by themselves. The Norn Queens are massive organisms that function as biomechanical wombs, giving birth to all other Tyranid-like forms. They can alter biomass in an unlimited number of ways, biochemically and genetically, to produce new species to perform any function the Tyranid race requires. On the hive ships, the Norn Queens are kept in enormous rooms. Each room is hundreds of meters tall and contains only one Norn Queen. The Norn link queens to the Tyranid ground forces are the Dominatrix. They're massive beasts, almost as big as a Biotitan, and the female hive tyrant, who's stronger and psychically more powerful. They're symbiotically united with a smaller warrior-sized entity that serves as a psychic and synaptic link to the Norn Queen aboard her ship. The Trigons are formidable serpentine organisms that tunnel beneath enemy lines. Trigons are one of the most formidable Tyranid breeds, towering over even a Carnifex. Trigons can also transform into synapse creatures, allowing them to command other Tyranids. Trigons can command a tunnel swarm, a group of Tyranids. Lictors and Hormigons commonly make up this swarm. A Trigon's armor vibrates as it travels, creating a bioelectric current that may be unleashed on a group of adversaries at command. Murlocs, the Molochs, are a Trigon subspecies. They are worm-like and blind, but despite their size, they are highly agile. Their small claws are better adapted to tunneling beneath the battlefield than close combat. However, they are far from defenseless. They prefer to swallow their prey whole, allowing it to be digested for several days while still alive. Despite their blindness, the Moloch can use pressure waves to acquire information about the surface because they can travel through solid and fluid substances below ground. Severe vibrations erupt on the surface as a Moloch closes in on its prey, which can notify the Moloch where its victim is with greater accuracy. It is easier for the Moloch to focus on a sound that is regular and rhythmic. Even a heartbeat will reveal the location of its next meal. Charged with protecting Tyranid facilities, the Hive Guard is capable of unleashing salvo after salvo of devastating weapons. They are essentially gun beasts, with a body built to be a steady firing platform for the gigantic impaler cannon attached to their forelimbs and extensively armored in a shell-like carapace. Hive Guard can target adversaries with unfailing accuracy because they are physically linked to the shard beasts that make up the ammo for their cannons. They can even target foes they can't see since they can get sensory impressions from the shard beasts in mid-flight. It's there, I know it is, lurking in the shadows, stalking me like an animal. It's death itself, I tell you, just watching me, waiting. O blessed Emperor, why won't it just kill me? The Ravings of Cardinal Salem. Death Leaper is a one-of-a-kind lictor developed by Hive Fleet Leviathan's hive mind as its ultimate assassin, but who the creature was hunting for remains a mystery. This Tyranid terror weapon was first discovered on the imperial world of St. Castellan in 997 M41, spreading fear and undermining the population's morale, destroying their desire to fight the approaching swarm. Death Leaper, far from being a mindless assassin, instinctively recognized that killing St. Castellan's spiritual leader, Cardinal Salem, would only produce a Marta and intensify the defenses against St. Castellan. Death Leaper instead invaded the Cardinal's bunkers, massacred his advisors, and sliced through his bodyguard, only to leave the Cardinal unhurt, covered in the blood and viscera of his closest allies. By repeating this horrible carnage for 10 Sundays, the evil lictor continued his brutal psychological torture of the Cardinal, bypassing ever-increasing levels of protection. Each time, Death Leaper came dangerously close to grabbing the Cardinal with his claws before mysteriously escaping the bloodbath. The fact that the Tyranid assassin may kill him at any moment was too much for the Cardinal's sanity to bear. His panic-stricken paranoia and shattered mentality did more to damage the Castellan planetary defense force's morale than any execution could have done. Hive Fleet Leviathan ravaged the Earth as dread and confusion reigned supreme. Because of the Death Leaper's actions, the Great Devourer's swarm effortlessly murdered its leaderless prey. Old One-Eye's fate is unclear, although multiple accounts of carnifexes resembling it wreaking havoc across the realm of Ultramar and beyond have surfaced. If the legends are to be believed, Old One-Eye has been murdered at least a dozen times. The ability of Old One-Eye to recover wounds inflicted on it during combat has led to claims that it is an unstable mutation, a Tyranid experiment in rapid cell regrowth that the hive mind abandoned. However, since the arrival of the Hive Fleet Leviathan, this mutation has become practically universal among Carnifex. The Behemoid Undercult, a gene-stealer cult, worships Old One-Eye, as well as its own gene-stealer patriarch. The Undercult holds it in such high regard that they ritually scar and tattoo themselves, or even cut off their own right eyes, in honor to the monster, which they regard as a prophet of the Xenos god they simply refer to as Behemoth. Wave of Tyranid raids on Calth. Land convoys were wrecked, habdomes were demolished, and entire populations were slaughtered. Old One-Eye's presence as a prominent Tyranid leader organism drew lesser Tyranid organisms like termagants and gene-stealers, who were also left behind by Hive Fleet Behemoth's invasion. The inhabitants of Calth cried out for help, and Scout Sergeant Tellian of the Ultramarines came to their aid. Tellian chased down Old One-Eye, but found piercing its armored flanks tough. Tellian made a 1-in-a-million shot that hit the beast's shattered eye socket as his warriors were ripped to bits by the beast. Old One-Eye collapsed down a cavernous chasm, overtaken by pain. Tellian led a search for Old One-Eye's body, but he was never located. Tellian chased down Old One-Eye, but found piercing its armored flanks tough. Tellian made a 1-in-a-million shot that hit the beast's shattered eye socket as his warriors were ripped to bits by the beast. Old One-Eye collapsed down a cavernous chasm, overtaken by pain. Tellian led a search for Old One-Eye's body, but he was never located. The Carnifex Old One-Eye led the Tyranid Hive Fleet Behemoth's attack on the Ultramarines' world of Calth, batting away Lee-Man Rust battle tanks like insects. When a forgotten Imperium hero shot a plasma pistol through its eye and into its brain, it was brought to a halt. Old One-Eye was knocked down for the first time with this shot, and it is still unable to regenerate its eye, and has a permanent scar across its head from a plasma burn. After the Hive Fleet Behemoth was driven from Calth, a team of smugglers discovered its remains frozen in the ice packs of Calth decades later. They thought it out in the hopes of getting a reward for the body, but Old One-Eye's horrific wounds began to heal almost immediately. It quickly awoke and massacred the smugglers. When a Carnifex is cut off from the Tyranid hive mind, it reverts to its drive to kill mindlessly. And Old One-Eye's arrival launch day Mortrex's parasite is a one-of-a-kind Tyranid bioform, the product of a Norn genetic queen's trials and attempts to improve her broods. The parasite of Mortrex is a bat-winged Tyranid species, evolved from Tyranid warrior stock, named after its most frightening ability and the planet where it was first found. In addition to its many claw appendages and fanged maw, the Mortrex parasite has a barbed tail tipped with a hollow tube, similar to a snake's fang, capable of implanting Ripper parasite babies into still living victims. The Ripper parasites mature in a matter of solar hours, or perhaps a few heartbeats, and will devour the unwilling host from the inside out to feed their rapid growth. The Imperial Fortress world of Mortrex was one of Segmentum Ultrama's most heavily fortified worlds, with fortresses sprouting from every mountaintop and bastions dotting the terrain. When the Hive Fleet Kraken struck, this powerful defense held off the onslaught for several solar days. The Astra Militarum forces defending Mortrex, however, came upon a winged bioform they had never seen before on the 10th day of the assault. The monster dove towards the human fortifications without warning, stabbing Imperial guardsmen with lightning-quick strokes of its tail. The creature's victims were injected with Ripper parasites, many of which matured in a matter of heartbeats and devoured their hosts from the inside out. A swarm of Rippers burst through fractured bones and ripped flesh as they emerged in a shower of blood, accompanied by agonized death screams. The few survivors spoke of a new Tyranid threat, a terrifying species that implants organisms into still living prey. This creature was dubbed the Parasite, and everyone knew that confronting it meant risking the most horrifying death imaginable. The planet of Mortrex was overtaken by enormous, hungry Ripper swarms 2 weeks later. Only a single astropathic signal announcing the presence of the parasite survived. It has not been seen since the fight on Mortrex, which is fortunate for the Imperium of Man. It remains to be seen whether the Hive Fleet's Norn Queen will consider the bioform successful enough to warrant its genetic maturation and eventual full production, or if it will remain an ultimately unfruitful genetic testbed never to be produced again, like other Tyranid experimental bioforms like the Red Terror or the Doom of Malantai.